right, guys, so that's going to be the end of that idea. So from here on, we would arrange it out, make a break and all this stuff depending on how we want it, vocals in the break. Intro and outro, I'm not going to go that far because I have to study in a bit, but I am going to explain everything we did, why we did it, and just try and let you guys saw what I did, and now let's explain it. Before we go further with the explanation though, guys, if you guys want to support me, don't forget that I do sell sound banks. So if you want sounds similar to these that I made in Massive, you guys can go ahead and check out that Future and Bass House bank I made. There's a lot of these type of sounds. That bank has a little bit of everything for that world of deep house, bass house, and future house. So anything would be greatly appreciated. All right. Sorry for the cough, I still have it. All right, so first thing, let's go with the top bass. The top bass was made in Diva. Now, Yuhi Diva is a synth that I've always been fond of, but if you guys have been following me on Snap, I posted a few previews up of songs that I've been working on. And Diva has been the one I go to a lot, especially for these type of bass lines and stuff. It's very warm, and it's the closest thing to analog you're gonna get in the digital world. It's one of the top 10 synths in the in the world, pretty much. And the only downside on Diva is that it is a CPU hog. So if we were to, but if you guys see how it sounds like, just a tad bit of saturation and some EQ, and that shit sounds huge as it is already. In the EQ, we took off the low end and we made a separate sub so we can saturate with a hard curve. And if we take off the hard curve saturation, now saturation, what it does is it adds pretty much, imagine yourself on an EQ boosting or adding distortion, but it does it in a harmonic way. So how in the piano we have harmonics, we play the G, and the harmonic note to the G would be the A sharp or the D, the fifth, and all that. That we can kind of correlate change of note with pitch, which equals frequency. So imagine the frequencies being boosted dynamically, pretty much. Just okay, if G is in the frequency of 50 and you saturate it, then you're going to be saturating at 50, at 100 hertz, at 150 hertz, at 200 hertz. Anything divisible by, let's say, 50, anything that 25, 25, 50, 75, 100, 125. So that's what saturation does, and it's a very powerful tool, especially to get your track loud. So you guys see the difference it did there, and then we have a bit of sidechain to the thing at the end of the chain. The next thing we made was the top part, which sounds like this. It was made in Serum with FM synthesis. Now, I didn't get the sound I was aiming for. However, it does sound really pleasing and nice in the track. But pretty much here we utilized this wavetable. A sine, pretty much. It's almost like a sine, but it's a variant of the sine. If you can see, it's not fully sine. There's an artifact here where you can see it pop out, sort of like it was like half saw or something. And then we use this oscillator. Now, the level in this oscillator is all the way down because what we have right here is pretty much this being routed. This sound is being routed into the FM input of this oscillator. Now, the way FM works, guys, is that you have a wave, and then you have another wave altering that wave. So as you start feeding this wave to this wave, you start increasing the frequency of this wave, and that's how you get those FM sounds. It's a very complicated process, but there's some synths that are pretty much made just specifically for that, like FM8 and Syntress by FL Studio or Image Line. But yeah, simple stuff here, and then some distortion, but I didn't use any of the effects in here because I like to do it outside of it. It's a lot more cleaner. The EQs looks like this. Saturation, again, I explained that. Now the reverb, I put it here because I feel like it gives it a lot more feeling, and plus I also wanted to compress the reverb so it pops out a bit more. And you can see the delay after the reverb is gonna pretty much affect this in a big way. So let's explain this. So the reverb, you guys know, the delay, you guys know, and the compressor, you know what they all do. But what the important thing here is the way that they're set up. If I were to put my delay before the reverb, that means the delay would occur first. So then the reverb would reverb the delay. The way it works now right here is, since my delay is in front of the reverb's getting delayed. So the reverb effect is moving like, the delay effect. And then the compressor is after all of them, so they pop out more in the mix. Because remember, compressors make, the best way to explain it would be like Sadowik did, and pretty much he says compressors just make little things that you can barely hear sound louder, and that's totally true. So reverb and simple delay are gonna be more present when we have some compression being done. And then the S1 to widen it again, so we give it some space. You know, we make it more to the sides, and then sidechain. Sub, just very simple. Took away from here a bit because that's where the kick is most present. And again, instead of adding to the kick so it pops out more, I just take away from the sub instead. Subtractive EQing is the best way. Additive EQing, you want to do like 5% of that, and that just means boosting instead of, you know, taking away. Now the drums, sorry, the kick. Let's go with the kick. The kick, I used a kick from the sample pack of UK House. You know, it sounds very strong and punchy and very rubber. There's some saturation going on, but the dry and wet is very low because if we overdo it, you know, it can get pretty dirty. So we utilize the soft sine, and we have different types of saturation there. I use a Trans X, but I usually use the SPL by the SPL Transient Designer, but I do that on my MacBook because my MacBook is where I have all the projects that I'm working on with the whole Zen World sound that I've been working on for a while now. And if you guys are curious, again, on Snapchat, I post up a couple of things, but the best way to do it is if you look up YouTube and you look up Zen music. There's some music that's meant to pretty much be relaxing and relaxed, and that's what I'm trying to go for. Sounds that are mellow. And I've posted up stuff on my Snapchat like 2 days. This past week, I don't know the day, but a lot of people liked it. I got messages like, oh my God, it's so chill. Anyways, let's go to the drums. Now the drums, I put a shit ton of drums that I didn't even use, and that's just because I was going to the ones I liked and the ones I was thinking about layering together. But I decided to go with 2 drums that make up this sound. It's pretty much this and that put together. And then that's it. The hats, again, the same idea. So that was in my head, the rhythm, and I just played it out, you know, baby steps. And then the shaker, I put an auto pan on it because I already have the hats pan to the right and the claps to the left, and I kind of want to give the shaker a little bit of love by going all over. So it sounds very cool because it also adds to the rhythmic value. You hear it bouncing back and forth, so it's pretty cool. In the bus, I did parallel compression or drum compression, 50%. Attacks all the way down and release. Now don't do this if you're at 100% wet, because this is gonna fuck your transients up on your drums, which is not what you want. But since I'm doing drum parallel, I wanted one side of the signal, the other 50% that's wet, to be really fucking compressed, and then the other 50 not to be compressed at all. And that gives you a good sense of dynamics and also the compression benefit of getting stuff to pop out a bit more. And then the shaker, you know, and the hats got a bit of side chain just because, you know, if I put side chain on the claps will get ducked because they're always hitting when the kick is hitting. So that's the drums. And then the pad was just made in Diva as well, and it was made wide with a utility instead of an S1 because the utility gets rid of mono information. So that way, instead of me doing a mid-side EQ and getting rid of the mono signal a bit, I have the utility from Ableton to do that. And now let's go to the master bus. Now, also the reverbs are that you guys see here that I put in returns are just put there because it's a lot more cleaner, and that way you don't have to utilize more than 2 or 3 reverbs in your whole track, which saves your CPU power. It's a lot more cleaner because you don't have 20 reverbs going off, and you know, it gives your track a little bit more of unity because you have the same reverb for almost everything, that you don't have like 20 different reverbs with different settings going off. Now in the master, it's just a glue compressor. I was trying to go in the box with this, but Ableton doesn't have a multi-band imager, so that's why I didn't use that. And it doesn't have a good limiter in my opinion, so that's why I didn't use that. The glue compressor, just simple, you know, compressor there to glue everything together. Here I got rid of frequencies that we can't really hear, so that saves you like a little bit of headroom. You'll see the volume go down and not clip as much if it was. And then in the S1, in the Ozone Imager, it's multi-band, so the highs usually you want them wider, and as you go down, that's when you start getting into mono. But anything below 200, in my opinion, should be fully mono, but a lot of people always argue about this, but most of the people agree that anything under 200 or 150 should be in mono. Then, you know, mid-side EQ there to taste. Here I did getting rid of resonance. Now, there's this thing called pink noise, and if you guys want to look it up, go for it on Google or YouTube. Someone made a YouTube video on mixing with pink noise, but it wasn't that great, the track that he was using. It wasn't high quality. It was really amateurish in my opinion, but you know, you can kind of see how you can use pink noise to level your track. However, the reason I bring up pink noise is because pink noise supposedly is the perfect way of where every frequency is perfectly set up harmonically, and also in the sense of resonating frequencies and energy. So if you want a good mix, you want it to look like pink noise pretty much. And if you look at pink noise, it does look like sort of like a track if you were to put a track on a spectrum. Now in pink noise, you don't really have resonating frequencies that much, but resonating frequencies can be good because they add a bit of character and a bit of punch and a bit of life to your track. But sometimes some of them don't, and those are the ones you want to get rid of. So I got rid of a couple that I knew where they would be just by looking at the spectrum. You'll see those motherfuckers pop out really high. It's usually like a thin line that's popping out over the rest, and you can hear them too. You can hear that kind of resonating there. So that's what those are for. And finally, the invisible limiter. The invisible one, I've been using it and I still use it to this date. Oop, and it's at 0. I'm gonna put it at 0.0. I first found out about it via fucking Audien. He had an interview with Sonic Academy, and I always like watching those. And he was like, I use this plugin, I use this plugin, I use this plugin. So the only one I didn't have was the invisible limiter. So I was like, I need to fucking get it. So it does its job well. You can get your track heavily fucking loud, and that's pretty much the idea of it, to get it loud. And then finally, the WLM is from Waves. It usually comes with the bundle. And it tells you the loudness short-term wise. You want to aim for -6 to -5 to -4, depending on the genre and the feel you're trying to go for. -4 is tracks like, you know, tremor, dun, 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 shit like that. But with deep house and groove house and progressive house, -6 around there is the value you kind of want to aim for. Now we got this to be really fucking loud as -5, which is pretty much a good job. Now, if my track was wasn't mixed properly and it was mixed shitty, you'll know, because you won't be able to get it that loud without your track distorting or starting to clip too much. So that's the point of, you know, having a good mix down, guys. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. And again, if you want to support me, you guys can go ahead and buy sound banks, and that's the best way to do it in my opinion. I don't like to ask for donations. I'd rather ask you guys to, you know, buy a sound bank. That way you get something in return. And as always, guys, you know, keep learning, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.